God, take six. This is the sixth time I tried to start this video today. Maybe I'm not supposed to do it today, but at any rate, today is October the 24th. It's Tuesday of the year 2023, and I'm going to be going over my Kindle book chapter number 4. So there's 9 chapters altogether. To give you a little bit of a taste of chapter 4, which is about the new economy, so the new economics, Tantra yoga, and rotating real estate. Some people aren't going to like that, but I basically, the front cover of the photo that we chose from Entre below. Entre is an award-winning artist, photographer who has created, I think at this point, 1,000 or something like that, geometric patterns. They're just gorgeous. And I came across his website, when I had completed the second edition of the book, and I thought, God, these photos would be perfect. So I got his permission to use his photos, and he's just a really wonderful guy. Lives in Los Angeles area. And then I chose this photo of Aim. Aim is in the higher councils of the Palladian culture, who has a perfect balance of male and female energies. And so I dialogue with him. He's an intimate part of me. I don't have to channel him, and my voice changes and all that. It's automatic writing that I do. So I'm going to start off with some questions, and I give you little nibbles so it entices you to buy the book and go on Amazon. It's only $9.99. Full moon messages from the Palladians. I'm a little bit mucusy. We're getting a lot of cold weather today. It's only the high of, right now, I think it's 58 degrees here in Connecticut. So I ask Aim, I'm reading from, some the channeled information that I have. I ask Aim, the new economy he says it will feel so much better than what we have right now. And then I asked him the question, he starts off, will feel so much better than you presently are involved with. He says, first, we are a corporative model of economics. We don't encourage competition in any way, shape, or form. We encourage cooperation between ourselves. Cooperation is a frictionless flow of energy, keeps the law of ease and grace intact as we continue our evolution towards the great I Am presence. Flexibility is a large part of our economic system. There is no physical form of money, as you have on your planet. Earthlings are hypnotized by outside influences that have set up a competitive environment which creates duality in everything that you do. All social structures are based on duality on your planet. The economy is no different. And then he goes on to express that he says, we see abundance as rays of golden white light that we exchange with everything and everyone we meet. We have grown out of the need to own anyone or anything because light waves flow so fast here, it is almost impossible to get stuck in matter. And then he goes on, it's impossible for us to get stuck in a relationship or a job or etc. Everything is very, it moves. The sixth dimension, that's where the Palladians are, although some authors might disagree with me, but that's where I think they are. They're on the sixth dimension, the fifth, and then you got the fourth. The fourth is a holding area. The third is where Earth is. So Earth is third, then you got the fourth, the holding area, to reincarnate back to Earth if you haven't balanced out all your karma. And then you go into the fifth, and then the sixth, and the seventh is God consciousness, the golden white light is where those beings are, and they have completed their lessons. That's where the ascended masters are in the seventh dimension, the true ascended masters. He says, free commerce means there is no end to abundance throughout the entire universe. We work in small groups, no more than 100, and exchange the unlimited supply of energy to co-create whatever we want, whatever we need through thoughts and feelings. We work with each other, not against each other, to create and provide whatever we need without the need to own or manipulate each other. Then my question to him is, many people are wondering where the financial market is going and if it can survive as it has been. What do you see? I ask him. And he replies, it will not survive the way it has been because the Aquarian age is about working in small groups and not the individual power to own others through regulations that only provide freedom to those who can afford it. Okay, it is not spiritual, and it certainly is not religious in the true sense. Love your neighbor as you love thyself. Lord Sananda, our chief commander, Jesus Christ, said when he was in a physical 3D body connected to the higher dimensions. The new way of doing business is to take care of each other and your family group through service to each other and the great I am presence, which is always present in the now. There will be no more than 100 people in a family group. Once any group grows beyond 100, it is susceptible to ego manipulations. You have seen how both spiritual and religious organizations start off with pure intentions but end up with very large egos. It's no different with any organization of any type. Each family group will have a doctor who will need to get his or her teeth cleaned by the family dentist. The dentist will need to get food from the family farmer. The family farmer will need to get his or her car or spaceship fixed by the family mechanic. And the family mechanic may need the family plumber to fix affiliated issues with water flow and waste technologies. So you get the idea that no more than 100 in a family group. Everything will be downsized. Everything's gotten so big that no one's accountable for anything. So their model of abundance is based on barter, and it is not a socialistic type of thing. Because one of the questions I put here is, are you implying socialism? And he says it's not a part of any ism. It is free-flowing exchange of energy where service for service is honored by your next-door neighbor. There is no outside organization that is affiliated with an international banking system that can control you anymore. The family group becomes self-sufficient to itself, all by itself. There'll be no more taxes, no more government, and an outside group such as the AMA, FTC, FDA, IRS, huge bodies of individuals who you give your energy to. It says here several families that started the international banking system. There's about 8 major families and then it gets subdivided down. Started it by limiting your consciousness so you could depend on them rather than your neighbor. They took your religious freedom away from you and then claim how much they love God. They even have "In God We Trust" on the dollar bills. Jesus Sananda came to share love and emphasis in 2 main laws: love your neighbor as you love thyself, and love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. The international banking families laid down their laws. Become educated in a certain field of knowledge and expertise and make money by providing a service to society. If you're late on your mortgage payment, we will take your house away from you. If you can't afford health care, tough luck. If you can't pay your telephone bill, we will disconnect you. If you can't pay for electricity, we will cut off your electricity power. And if you can't pay for your automobile loan, we will repossess your car. Okay, he's talking about the conditions around money and abundance that we have on this planet. They don't have that up there. There's not a rent payment. There's not an automobile payment. There's no paying for rent. There's no paying for food because their bodies are different. As I said, the average, extraterrestrial that's in the higher levels, more human appearing, they look like they're about 25 years old. They do not require the kinds of foods that we eat because they're in a light body and not a flesh body. So it's very free there in terms of how they define abundance. This may be the only planet in the entire universe that is naive enough to let an international banking system take over, and we give all of our money over to them. We're more enslaved. That's been going on for a good 30,000 years in different forms. Example would be the Hebrews being enslaved for 400 years by Pharaoh and the Egyptians. They have their own form of slavery and controlling people. So always being controlled by others. He says here, yes, abundance has always been plentiful for planet Earth, but you have one problem, and he puts men. You see, they wanted to control this planet along with other dysfunctional beings. He's talking about other extraterrestrial races who tricked man into believing that everything has a limit. They figured if they could program you into believing that everything is limited, that they could also convince you that the only way out was to follow an outside source. Now, many of you have invested in the financial world in many ways without considering that it's already there inside of you. You have to enjoy for free, he says. He says that struggle is about to end. The intelligence of the universe did not create all the laws of nature so you could put a price tag on everything. Everything is equally valuable from the perspective of love and light. Why would you want to set up a system that creates isolation from one another and favors the few special people who have luck on their side? It says here, in the new model, there will be a star entertainer in every group. There will be a star doctor, a star farmer. Everyone will feel like they are contributing to their brothers and sisters in a way that supports each other rather than compete, where a few make it and the rest are forgotten. No child or human soul should ever be forgotten and left behind. Then I ask him, what about the technology chip that will be put into people to monitor their lives? He says this will not happen in enough time. We will start to stir things up and take the attention off this type of technological slavery. Most humans have evolved enough to know this is another invasion of their privacy. Scientists are moving in this direction to enslave others, but remember, many of the spiritual teachers in our own galactic and intergalactic families will be pointing humans to go more within in a technology of consciousness, rather than so much of a robotic experience as scientists are focusing on. The focus will change. The perceptions will become clearer. Humans will not want to participate in anything that supports an unnatural experience. And then he goes on, the work week will be more graceful. Some of the questions I asked that I won't answer, so you can buy the book and find out. Will the work week be like it is in this new model of small family groups? Another question, what about materials and products that are shipped across the country and the world? How will they arrive if everyone already working in their family groups and not able to separate like a truck driver? Okay, so he answers those questions. Will family groups have to stay in one area? Do people travel? Excuse me. Will there be other forms of money such as gold, silver, leather goods, or whatever has value? He says here no, he says the Earth Gaia will be valued through service. Jewelry is always honored because it's part of Mother Earth, but not as a temptation for someone to own or sell later. Crystal jewelry will be very popular in the New Age. In the beginning phases, there will be humans that store gold, silver, and large amounts of real estate out of fear, but they will relax more when they see that they don't need to fear for their physical security anymore. New clothing, which allows the body to breathe freely and protects it from weather temperatures, will be introduced at the beginning of the preparation phase. More like a jumpsuit made from materials that are as lightweight as air itself. These are materials that they bring from other planets. There's a lot of other minerals and other kinds of things. Bitcoin, we're going to go to this system. That's not going to happen in the New Age. We are going to get away from limiting abundance. So, I am abundance is an affirmation that you can use. I am abundance, and I'm connected to the unlimited supply of abundance in the universe. That could be an affirmation. He even said that some of the detergents you use to clean clothes and eating utensils which can be dangerous to your health. If it smells good, then it most likely has chemicals in the detergents that create cancer in the cells of the body. So he's talking about getting diseases from these, whether it's using perfumes in laundry detergent or using chemicals in the dishwasher. These are kind of dangerous. He also goes into saying that robots will take over a lot of the work just boring work, manufacturing work, building cars, people running registers and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to need more time to work with. The family group is going to get smaller and children become the priority, making sure they're getting educated with spirituality, etc. And then, of course, you have the advanced technologies on the spaceships, which can reverse the aging process. They call them rejuvenation chairs, and there's rejuvenation beds that you can lie in, kind of like a suntan bed, but it eliminates a lot of the impurities in the DNA and strand and all that. And it helps you not have to see a psychiatrist for 20 years and still feel like you got the same problems that you had the first day you walked in the psychologist's office. Rotating real estate. This is interesting. He says here, what about real estate? Will people still live in the same homes? Real estate will rotate. Family groups will move every 12 years and will experience a new environment and new homes. No one will own a home that will last forever. This is called stagnation of energy. So in the upper worlds, everything's always moving around. There's a lot of movement. Pretty much the only time that they shown me that they sit still kind of in a reclining position is when they want to gather energy from the moon rays and the sun rays, that is sent mostly from the central sun. And they have these little ducts like on the tops of their feet, in the lower abdomen area, the thigh area, the chest area, and also in the third eye area, where they assimilate. This is how they eat most of their diet, not the whole diet. And while they're eating, they're also meditating. So there's about a half-hour window of time. Then once that half hour is gone, they're off and they do their thing. But the real estate will rotate. The exception, he says here, is a mother who's pregnant and they don't want to cause stress for the child and the mother, so they may stay longer. He says here, the inner city child will live near the ocean from time to time, and those who live by the ocean will live in the inner city or the suburban quality of life. This will allow energy to move, and the need to claim ownership of property will be a thing of the past. Everyone can experience a small, medium-sized, or large house within the short stay on Earth. The average age will be prolonged due to innovative sound technologies we have developed and keeps the body young and vibrant, as well as a plant-based diet along with fruits and nuts. Celebrities who own multi-million-dollar homes presently, as of the writing of this book, may not feel comfortable with this arrangement. I can hear Taylor Swift grinding her teeth, or Rihanna, or any of Tom Hanks just bought a multi-million-dollar home. They own all of them too, several multi-million-dollar homes. But they will learn to invest in celestial real estate rather than the earthly real estate. If a soul is too attached to the physical world of real estate, they will reincarnate back here and never grow towards celestial real estate in the upper dimensions of creation. They get stuck, he says. It is God's property anyhow. And God is sharing and giving, not owning and taking for oneself, regardless of how hard one has worked for it. And the new economic plan, arduous work outside of a family group, is over anyhow. A handful of celebrities owning so much real estate will be unpopular as the spiritual world of celestial real estate becomes more attractive and more fulfilling. And so he goes on. I said, what would happen to most commercial office spaces and store spaces? I'm not going to read that. You can buy the book. It says, okay, then he says, we'll be bringing the Soma plants back to Earth. Now, Soma is mentioned in the 9th mandala of the Rig Veda. There's 4 main Vedas. One of them is the Rig Veda. In the 9th mandala, they chant hymns to Soma. Now, Soma, according to Mahesh Yogi, the founder of the TM technique, he said that Soma is like the glue of the universe. He even said that if the belly is full of soma, you could eat nails and it would be digested. So it totally eliminates any kind of digestive issues. And it circulates. But one of the things that it does is it activates the neurophysiology. Now, this is something new that we haven't heard from any channeler. I've read books since I was 26 years old. I'm 65 years old. I haven't heard anybody talk about, in terms of the extraterrestrials bringing back a soma plant. The soma plant was very popular in the ancient Vedic tradition of India. It's the tradition started 8,200 years ago. And then when the extraterrestrials landed in the Himalayas, eventually the Pleiadians especially, they shared the soma plant, which was crushed and the juice flowed out of it. They call it golden hued soma. It is not affiliated with mushrooms, the hallucinogenic mushrooms. It's not affiliated with the marijuana plant. It's not affiliated with acid, taking acid. No drug. It's very healthy. It doesn't cause any damage. And the neurophysiology of the brain, we have about 85 to 100 billion neurons in the brain. It gets very stimulated. And there's this tingling. They call it the fountain of light experience. They partly use this in the new romance era. So a lot of these big multi-million dollar homes, that a lot of the celebrities own, those are going to be used as getaway vacation places for health rejuvenation and romance for partners. So the Tantra yoga experience, what they have, that fountain of youth, that fountain of light that comes up and stimulates waves of joy in the neurophysiology. Now, when you think about it, over the last 30,000 years, when we disconnected ourselves from the higher levels and higher dimensions, what has been our romantic experience here, lovemaking, specifically? It's been more genital, area. And the male has, I think, 4,000 nerve endings on the tip of his, they call it lingam, and in the woman's yoni. That's her vagina. So she has 8,000. He's got 4,000. Okay. That is not nearly comparable to stimulating 85 to 100 billion neurons in the brain. So this they call the neurophysiological climax. And the soma, they take about a shot of soma. Okay, that's how they're going to introduce this at the beginning of the lovemaking, so that it flows and it gets the neurophysiology stimulated. So in other words, we have to start slowly to come back to the awareness of having a neurophysiological climax up here, because we've been so down here. There's nothing wrong with that, because we're at a certain level of consciousness and that's what it allowed. But it's more animalistic, than a divine. The neurophysiological climax. And again, I have not heard this mentioned by anybody, any channeler, or anybody. Even money. We don't hear about. Do we ever hear about money from channeler? Oh, you're a light being. You're a volunteer for the Galactic Federation. You're walking. You're a pure light soul child. You're, violet flame. Whatever. But yeah. Well, how do we pay our bills? I mean, they don't talk about the fact that they don't have any money there, which is really helpful. And taking the pressure off. But they never talk about the soma plant. And there's supposedly greenhouses, spaceships that are almost as large as this planet, and even smaller ships that are greenhouses for growing the soma plants. The soma plants got taken off of the planet when it was misused at one point. They said it's totally being misused, especially by Indra, the god Indra. According to Aim, he says that Indra, from the Aryan race, it was the Indo-European race that entered India, more from the western north, where Pakistan is now. That's where the Indus tribes were creating the Vedic tradition. And they came in and they murdered a lot of people there. And they used the soma to empower some of their main deities. Indra was mentioned quite a lot in the Rig Veda. But once they started misusing it so much, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Syrians, other groups that involved, but especially the Pleiadians, they ended up taking a lot of the solar plane with them. And then, of course, the floods over the centuries washed out a lot of it. So that's where it ended up. So that will be brought back in the preparation phase once we have contact. He says, we sometimes call it the fountain of light experience because it's like a fountain of love flowing through the base of the spine and expanding upward in all directions like a water fountain. Streams of light flowing out and sometimes upward, expanding the consciousness and lifting the body upward, sometimes off the ground. Okay? One of the problems earthlings have is they push any kind of knowledge about sacred sex away and are told by religious leaders that sex is a naughty word. The result is a very suppressed and misunderstood cosmic energy called Shakti. This energy can be used to nourish the mind, body, and spirit connections. And adding to what we have just shared, there is no other experience than sacred sex, where you are sharing every cell of your body with another person that is more religious when done with another adult of equal and matching vibrations. Now, they talk about the fact that we're so disconnected to the Tantra yoga groups that are out there. He says they're experiencing maybe 15% of the Tantra yoga experience that they experience in the higher worlds. They do not have any genitalia. So they're more androgynous, and at least that's what they've shown me. And other people will disagree with me, but that's what they've shown me. And they don't need a reproductive system because they recreate by just thinking about something, and they can manifest it just like that. That's what goes on in the upper sixth dimension, you know, from the middle to the upper sixth. When the connections are not made along the subtle nadis, these are pathways without the, sometimes called meridians. They're called meridians in Asia. They call them nadis in the yoga system, or grid lines of the body. The health of the individual fails to work properly, and the neurophysiology remains dormant, leaving us using a small percentage of the brain. This is your present situation. You have billions of neurons in the brain that are not active. Loneliness is also a result, and a feeling of being disconnected with oneself and disconnected with your fellow human beings. What comes to the surface is distorted and more often turns into a subtle form of violence based on ownership of the person you're with rather than a sharing of life at its best. Pornography will become a thing of the past, as well as the use of drugs, alcohol, gambling, foods, and cigarettes to numb consciousness because the world is so harsh with pressures. The whole outlook and attitude of lovemaking will help change the energy of planet Earth to reflect a subtle but powerful peace. Waves of joy and love will permeate the minds and hearts of the youth and will form a wonderful foundation of relationships in the future for adults. Domestic violence will recede and die out by the middle of the preparation phase. The preparation phase is from 2024 to 2044, depending on when it starts. You know, if it starts, 2034, then you have to add 20 years onto that for the next stabilization phase. And I think I covered everything that I wanted to, some of the other questions that go on in this chapter. I said, so the family group is not going to be perfect, but better than what is known. And then I put here, let's see, the next question was, some people are saying the changes are already happening now. He puts, they've been happening since the discovery of electricity. The volunteer teacher and inventor, Nikola Tesla, was the start of the faster pace of life. Another question that I asked him, what will happen to prisoners in jail? Another question I asked him is, let's see, that might have been the last question that I asked him in the chapter. Yeah, so I think I covered enough area. This is the new economy, no bills. The international banking families will have to release. This is very there are negative groups that have gotten involved with this, and it's a way to enslave everybody. And I think you're already aware of that, though we feel enslaved somewhat when we have to always be pressured all the time thinking about how to pay the next bill. It's ruining relationships. It ruins marriage. It ruins the whole relationship with your children. Children don't want to be around a lot of tension and stress when it comes to bills. If you're lucky enough to have enough money coming in where you can have a family and it can be balanced and people get a good education, good karma, good for you. You deserve it. On the other hand, those people are going to have to learn how to let go in the end of their so much security and have a sharing going on between the small family groups and the rotation of real estate. That's going to be very interesting. But people will be ready for it, at that point. So I wouldn't say that a lot of the celebrities who own multi-million-dollar homes and all these people who are into politics, hype in politics, they own multi-million-dollar homes, as well as people that work for NASA. Maybe they do. But a lot of these big buildings will become getaway vacations. Because in the small family group, after a while, you need a break. It's like anything else. You want to just go away, take a little vacation, and get into the privacy of romance away from the children and stuff. So it's a very, very wonderful, like I said, neurophysiological climax. I've never heard that mentioned by anybody else. And the soma plant, the glue of the universe, the golden hued soma, responsible for higher states of consciousness, activating neurophysiology. And that's it. So God bless you and have a wonderful day. Namaste. Please click the subscribe button, and I will be doing a song, an instrumental song that goes along with a chapter. I'll post that on my YouTube by the end of the week. Om Shanti Shanti Swaha.